that they've got 200,000 volunteers for this poll watcher problem. But with 200,000 people, sometimes there's gonna be some bad apples. And we've got an example of that. So one man who wanted to be one of these poll watchers is a man from Philadelphia, John Pollard, who's now been indicted following his attempt at becoming a poll watcher, leading to him making violent death threats. So he texted an unnamed employee of, it's just labeled a political party in Pennsylvania. I think it's the Republicans, but we don't know for sure. And here is the text that they sent. Hey, I'm interested in being a poll watcher. I will kill you if you don't answer me. Your days are numbered, blank. Gonna blank and find you and skin you alive and use your skin for blanking toilet paper,
Oh
you
my
blank.
God. Oh my God.
Now, there's a lot about that is amazing. The most amazing thing, I think it was producer Mike who noted this. From the first message of, hey, I'm interested in being a poll watcher, to I will kill you if you don't answer me, was about 9 minutes. That's how long they were willing to wait before they began to thinking about using skin as toilet paper. And that's a crazy thing to even speculate about, because how absorbent could skin possibly be? But anyway, it would actually make more sense for those commercials with the bears overly concerned about wiping. I can see them using human flesh. But anyway, this is a thing. He really wanted to be a poll worker. Now, he's not gonna be. He's in some legal trouble. But this gives you an idea of the sort of people, or at least a percentage of them, that are interested in doing this. Francesca, what do you think?
I mean, try again in Florida, because it might actually work out for you, bro. Like, DeSantis is like, hell yeah, we needed a skin toilet paper, a skin wiper. That was sort of rounding out our like evil A team, our SS team over here. I mean, these are the people who often are volunteering to, not always, right? But like usually poll watchers and election and ballot workers, these are like people who are, leaders in their community. They're volunteering, they're doing a civic duty, they're helping out. And of course, in the last, 8 years, but specifically after 2020, a lot of them are like, I don't want to do it again. My life has been threatened. This is terrifying. People think that I'm cheating. Like, I've been doing this for years and years and years. So they're staying away from it. And who should come in but these psychopaths, of course, because they're being deliberately targeted by the Trump team and other Republicans who are like, telling them that poll watchers are, all run by, woke people eating cats and dogs, and they need to go out there and do their own and obviously be armed while doing it. It's terrifying. Like this is like, I don't know, John, this is just like one aspect of the terror, right? Isn't this just sort of like it's like a side quest of terror that MAGA represents?
First of all, thank you for using the term side quest. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Also, it's the sort of thing where like, oh yeah, you have to remember, oh yeah, I'm worried about the election and I'm worried about the coup. I should probably be worried about the possibility of some sort of lone wolf attack against an election, a ballot counting place. Like, cause these people are out there. I don't know if there's 3 of them or 300 of them or 3,000 of them, but I'm pretty sure the number's not 0. Also, by the way, if a pet was to be kidnapped and eaten in a town in which this guy lived, I think he's probably the lead suspect, ironically, after all we've been through as a country. Anyway, that is unfortunately all the time we have for the show. Thank you everyone for joining us on today's program. Thank you, Francesca, for being here for Big News Wednesday and fighting through some voice difficulty. We appreciate it.
No worries. Everybody just listen to the Bitchuation Room podcast. It's been really fun lately. Go to youtube.com/FrannyFio and subscribe. I'm trying to get to a meager 100,000 by the end of the year.
Make it happen, everyone. We can do it.
That's a very small fraction of the TDR audience. So if you love me, this is what I've done for you.
Also, by the way, if you haven't subscribed to us, we're trying to get to 1,050,000. So you could help us out potentially. Anyway, or both, maybe both. Why not both? Anyway, thank you, everybody. I'm going to be on the second hour and the bonus episode of the Young Turks later on today, so hope to see you there. Trey Crowder will be on the show tomorrow, which should be a lot of fun. Nate Jelly says Franny should sing Smelly Cat. I was already thinking that actually, that you should sing Smelly
No.
Cat. Anyway, thank you everybody for now. Stay safe out there, stay sane out there, and we'll see you soon.
It's indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad Richard. Good to be with you. We have a lot on the agenda today. Breaking down news of the day, none other than Yasmin Aliya Khan. Remarkable, brilliant in her analysis. Always good to have on the show. Top story of the day, talk about an unforced error. Put it up full mass. A pizza chain decided it would be a good idea to mock Marion Barry and his drug bust with a new menu item. Now, this was obviously years ago. Members of the community and family have spoken out. So the family of the late Washington, D.C. Mayor Marion Barry, along with other members of the community, have spoken out against a new dessert pizza or dessert sold at the pizza chain. As the advertising says, it's for the berry-filled knots, nods toward being named after the mayor, who served over 4 non-consecutive terms between 1979 and 1998. The pizza chain, and with the locations in Washington, Maryland, Virginia, New York City, New Jersey, Philadelphia, and pizza, did not directly state that it's Marion Barry Knott's menu item is named after the former mayor. So the ads they released for the Marion Barry Knott's had taglines like Marion Barry Knott's, they'll blow you away, end quote. Another quote, our knots got a bump. Barry's slogan was, quote, he may not be perfect, but he's perfect for DC. And pizza says its new menu item, quote, may not be the perfect dessert, but they're the perfect dessert for DC. Fox DC reported. Keep that up, because at this point, somebody owes the Barry estate a check. Infringement. Defamation, perhaps. The ad alluded to Barry being arrested in a high-profile FBI sting operation, very popular, famous back then, for possession of crack cocaine in 1990 at the conclusion of a long-running investigation into rumors about his lifestyle. Although Barry's arrest would lead him to being convicted on misdemeanor drug charges and serving 6 months behind bars when he should have been at a rehab. The Washington community has stressed that he should be remembered and honored for more than his drug conviction. And I want to keep that picture up. I remember, I'm talking about this some years back, understanding politics a little better. While he had his vices, he smoked crack, okay? He didn't steal any money, but he smoked crack. He was able to go to rehab and provided an opportunity to redeem himself and was elected again to serve in higher office afterwards. Why do a sting operation for a guy who simply has a drug addiction? So obviously the political dynamics at play. My 2 cents. Marion's widow, Cora Masters Barry, had one thing to say about and pizza's dessert and ad tactics. Quote, I just think it's racist, she told DC News Now. Quote, in this city, it is outrageously racist. You can print that. It's racist and disrespectful. David Dobbs Jr. noted that the Marion Barry Summer Youth Employment Program inspired him to give back to their community. Dobbs stressed that it's absolutely insane for the restaurant to even use messages that suggest drugs. BML Production or Public Relations, which handles the publicity for the chain, has released information to DC News Now explaining, quote, for a good time, it's the powder. That's the ultimate headline grabber. The Marion Barry knots have enough powdered sugar that will have customers bumping elbows to order and even force the DEA to look twice. Let's put them up, full mass. The brains behind the operation here. CEO of And Pizza, Mr. Mike Burns, replied to the outrage in a press release on Monday. He said the company is, quote, not afraid to have a little fun. Whether or not our new Marion Barry knots cross the line is something we'll leave to the customers to decide. Quote, we're talking about a Marion Barry. That's spelled with an E. We stuff that into a knot, drizzle it with icing, and then top it with powdered sugar. It's delicious. We can't wait for DC to try it. Sir, I don't normally do this. Let's put him back up. When we take into consideration something called projecting, it is, in my opinion, I'm pretty damn sure you're on cocaine. I am pretty sure. All right. What is this fascination? All right. Yes, obviously, they don't give a damn. The community is calling for boycott. I hope they economically withdraw, and the allies of the Black community economically withdraw. A man is not defined by a summary of his mistake, but a summary of his redemption. What say you?
Yeah, this is all so unnecessary. This guy died 10 years ago, and he was relevant back in the 90s. So why was any of this necessary from a pizza chain, no less? It's also interesting that this is Washington, D.C. that we're talking about. They decided that of all the politicians who have ever been involved in illicit activity in and around our capital, Marion Barry, a former Black mayor from the 90s, was the guy that they went with. And of all the vices of all the politicians, this is a very interesting and a very telling choice. So I think if you wanted to boycott this particular establishment, I think you would be well in your right to do so. And Dr. Ritchie, you brought up a good point too. Barry wasn't busted for stealing money from the public or for fraudulent business practices or for political corruption. He was busted for something a lot of people do, something that a lot of people argue should not even be illegal in the first place, in the sense that he was hurting himself. He wasn't necessarily hurting the public. But I mean, I guess this pizza chain owner got exactly what he wanted out of all of this. What was it? They were sugary nuts. Those sell themselves on a menu. You don't have to, dress it up like this. You don't need this big, viral campaign to sell your sugar nuts. So I don't know, he wanted a viral moment and he got it. So I personally would hate to see him be rewarded for this type of behavior.
Well said. And that's why we echo the sentiment of the family and community. All right, hell of a thing. Put it up full mass. A man who yelled racial slurs pointed a shotgun at shoppers. Okay? The Maryland man who pointed a shotgun at shoppers yelled racial slurs at the store is now facing hate crime charges, 53-year-old. The man now faces hate crime charges after police say he pointed a gun at two people while shouting racial slurs. Harold Andrew Howard is his name. He was charged on 2 counts of first-degree assault and committing a race/religious crime against a person or group following an incident in White Plains, Maryland, on Sunday. Race, religious is a way to, the statute basically says we protect individuals who have constitutional freedoms, and if you go after them because of those freedoms, it's an aggravated offense. The Charles County Sheriff's Office said that an officer was sitting in an unmarked vehicle when a man ran up to his car and said someone pointed a shotgun at him. The officer went to the scene where the confrontation happened and found Howard and noticed a shotgun in his car. Now let's put Howard back up. Howard did not get shot, Howard got apprehended. Howard will spend the rest of the duration of this case receiving the benefit of his constitutional rights. Authorities learned the incident started with an argument. This was inside the store that spilled out into the parking lot. An argument in the store spilled out into the parking lot. Howard allegedly called the victim and his friend racial slurs when the altercation started. When they all left the store, Howard continued yelling racial slurs in their direction as the victims loaded their purchases into the vehicle. They're trying to go home. At one point, Howard went into his Chevy Silverado, retrieved a shotgun, pointed it in the air, and then aimed it at the victims, according to witness statements. Now, what can make you so upset inside of a store? A random encounter. You go and get your shotgun for individuals who are obviously unarmed and not trying to engage. Investigators have not released information on the victims' backgrounds, but court records obtained by South Maryland News Net revealed that Howard allegedly shouted, quote, "I got something for you," N-words, as he pointed his weapon at both individuals who were about 20 yards away from Howard after he armed himself. The scene reportedly played out in a Tractor Supply Company store parking lot. That'll do it. Howard was arrested at the scene. No issues with the arrest. Howard was booked into the Charles County Sheriff's Office. No issue there. He has now been charged with multiple hate crime charges. His next court date is November 2nd. He remains in custody. I'm pretty sure he has a record of doing things like this, menacing others. But I want to highlight something. This is the way it should happen when there's a horrible situation, a person gets apprehended. Now, I want you to imagine if this was a Black male, because we've seen right here indisputable how cops tend to think a little differently when a Black male has pointed a gun at someone and is in arm reach of that same weapon. All right, Gas, hell of a thing, but all of his rights are intact. He's able to go to court. He gets to face his accusers, and he's innocent until proven guilty by the court of law.
Yeah, this is why people are just so afraid to go out in public anymore. You can't even go to the store these days without having your life threatened by someone who is completely unhinged and detached from reality and frankly very stupid. The fact of the matter is that we are never going to get to a point of better public relations in public spaces until we get the guns off the street. But guns aside, this man is yelling racist slurs, so we already know that he is unfit to be out in public. He himself is already a danger and a nuisance to society, even without the deadly weapon in his hand. There is too much fear in this world, and fear begets fear. I believe racism is an extension of fear, whether that's fear of replacement or fear of inferiority or fear of insignificance, whatever. And this very fearful man found a way to spread his fear to others. He has made his community a less safe place and a less pleasant place for others to be. And of course, yeah, there is a disparity in the way that he was treated, even as he's yelling very dangerous things and wielding a very dangerous weapon in a parking lot, in a public area, compared to how someone of a different race and a different background may have been treated.
Well said. And you're right. It is connected to fear. And I would say fear is always produced by levels of ignorance, either ignorance about others or ignorance about yourself. Mm-hmm. All right. One of the saddest stories you'll hear, a woman in California gets sterilized without her consent. Hell of a story. Put it up. California sterilized this Black woman without her consent, then tried to block her from receiving compensation until a judge had to step in. The woman who was sterilized while incarcerated at a state prison in California has now been granted, well, a whopping $35,000 for the trouble. That's it, $35,000. They called this a reparation payment after years of appealing her case. The decision by the California Victim Compensation Board to award the payment to Ms. Buffington, Guyana Buffington, could mean that hundreds of other people sterilized by the state whose applications for reparations have been rejected could also be eligible to receive such payments. She's now 58. She was released from prison at the age of 40, okay? And tried to have a baby for over a year. She was unaware that any procedure had been done at the Central California Women's Prison 10 years earlier that made it damn near impossible. All right, so in 1998, Ms. Buffington underwent a cryogenic ablation in order to treat what a prison doctor told her was an abnormal pap smear, indicating it was precancerous growth. The procedure freezes and destroys endometrial cells in the uterine lining and should not be done for people who have any desire for future childbearing. That's according to the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. Now, this is supposed to be shared with the individual, regardless of their status of incarceration. Naturally, this was not shared with her. She had no idea. Buffington was not informed at all of how the procedure would potentially affect her future fertility. Quote, that is so humanly low for someone to make the decision that I don't deserve to have children because I'm incarcerated, Buffington said. I would have been a great mom, end quote. She applied for compensation through a reparations program enacted by California in 2021 for people who were forcibly sterilized while in state prisons. Now, before I continue, the emphasis is a little bit lopsided here. One, you're not compensating them enough. Two, I'm sure you make them sign some kind of waiver to free you all. And three, where's the prosecution? I mean, the criminal prosecution of those involved in this conspiracy. There's more. For people who were sterilized by force while in state prisons, state-run hospitals and homes, but denied 4 times by the board, which argued that this just didn't qualify as sterilizations under the law because the procedure, quote, was performed to treat her underlying medical condition and does not eliminate fertility. See, now they're playing games. Alameda County Superior Court judge had to step in, Michael Markman. The judge ruled in June that the compensation board was wrong. They illegally denied Ms. Buffington her reparations, finding, quote, sterilization is not defined by the statute, but the parties agree that the term is unambiguous and that a sterilization procedure results in a permanent inability to reproduce. There are exceptions to that. Medical exceptions have been noted, but that's the exception, not the rule. Markman wrote that such intent is not required and that, quote, a lack of informed consent, which is alleged here, entitles a claimant to compensation, even if the procedure is medically necessary or was for the purpose of birth control. Informed consent is a linchpin of the statute. The judge ordered the compensation board to reconsider without mistakes of law. On August 29th, the board hearing officer did so, finding that her cryotherapy met the criteria for forced or coercive sterilization as defined by the legislature, and approved her application for compensation. The next day, the full board adopted that decision. The decision gives new hope for other women previously denied reparations awards by the board after undergoing these procedures and other medical procedures that rendered them infertile while in state custody. You understand how diabolical this is, right? You understand what they're actually doing. This is a conspiracy to stop primarily individuals they feel, they believe should not have children. They engage in this kind of criminal conduct. I want to know, where's the arrest report? Because I promise you, if these women were not incarcerated, but they were, let's just say, up in their communities with the same folk who were doing this, if these were women in their families, there would be some kind of penalty. Somebody in law enforcement would get involved. The California Victim Compensation Board has denied a majority of those applicants, 75%. Of more than 500 applicants for the reparations program, and repeatedly rejected ablations as worthy of consideration. They set up the damn program and then rejected the folks who applied. According to a year-long investigation by UC Berkeley's investigative reporting program and KQED, the majority of applicants self-identified as what? Black or African American. That's according to local news. According to a state audit in 2014, which found that at least 794 people in state prisons had undergone medical procedures that could have resulted in sterilization between 2005 and 2013. This is so sad. And once again, it's a microcosm of a macrocosm that we probably would never understand the depth of. But we know this one. This is a criminal act. This is not a civil dynamic. They didn't violate an administrative policy. This is against the law. And those who work in medical care have a duty of care by way of state law. But no law enforcement office is getting involved. This type of crime has what's called multiple jurisdictional standards. If state police can get involved, FBI can get involved, you're dealing with an incarcerated individual, the local police can get involved, the county sheriff can get involved, the corrections office for the state could get involved. Nobody's getting involved to criminally prosecute those who conspire to do this to these Black women. Yasmin, thoughts?
It is a conspiracy. You know, sterilizing a woman while she's incarcerated is one thing, but then trying to block her from receiving the justice that I think many of us would agree she's entitled to is a whole other level of unfathomable. The fact that they set up the program for these women to get their reparations, and then they said, you know what, we did something, but then we don't have to actually follow through. We'll just deny all of the requests. I just wonder if people understand the gravity of something like this, what it can mean to someone, how devastating it can be for a woman to find out that she can't have children when she wants to have children. Sometimes that can happen naturally. And from what I understand, that is devastating. It's not something you get over easily. But this woman, for her to find out that she can no longer conceive because of something someone did to her without her consent, she will never get over this. She should not even be expected to get over this. She deserves as much justice as she can get. And I don't know what kind of price you can put on something like this. Like, what is the opportunity cost of having a child? But I can tell you, it's probably way more than $35,000. And on top of that, this is a fun time for her to be trying a case like this. I know this is taking place in the state of California, but this is all happening at a time when so many people in our country do not think that women have rights to their own bodies. Women across the country are losing their ability to conceive due to faulty or insufficient or inhumane healthcare. And this to me feels like an extension of all of that.
Well said. We are going to bring updates as they come. We got more on the other side. Indisputable, stick and stay. Indisputable is still the fastest growing news show in America compared to CNN, Fox News, and 30 other networks. We tell the truth on Indisputable because the truth is indisputable. We go places that other news media outlets refuse to go. When there were human rights abuses happening at the Victorville prison, guards and members of the community contacted us.
You, through your investigative reporting, unearthed very troubling allegations about specific forms of abuse and discrimination in the federal prison system.
It really doesn't take much to be a trusted voice. All it takes is to be fearless, report on matters, be an advocate. I called it the bullpen intentionally because it's a place of preparation. We present individuals who may have an opposing view, so we debate. Sometimes we interview individuals because their stories deserve to be heard. A survivor of significant police misconduct and his attorney. We covered this story earlier and to remind you of the horror of one man being shot at damn near 100 times by the police. We take time on this show to showcase the temper tantrums of Karens in the wild. We do this not because we want to see people's emotional outbursts in public, but because these incidents are emblematic of a bigger societal issue taking place across the nation, and it has to be checked.
My friend, my big homie, attorney at law, Benjamin Crump.
I just want to thank you, man. Educated, articulate brothers like yourself speak truth to power. It makes a great difference in changing the landscape in America. So
listen, no matter what you do, don't allow the politics of ideology to evaporate the soul that still exists inside of you. They don't stop, I don't stop. Racism won't stop, I won't stop. Systemic bias won't stop, I won't stop. People still need health care, so I won't stop. People still need criminal justice systems reformed, so I won't stop. You won't stop either.
All I ask of you going forward is keep fighting forward, okay? But we don't fight with arms and physical and any of that, right? We fight with love, we fight with peace, we fight with hope and belief and faith in one another. And we do that stride with knowledge and facts and truth and things that are real. Yeah. Objective reality matters. So much of our audience is scientists, teachers, engineers, data analysts, people who believe in objective reality, right? So thank you guys for believing in that. Thank you for believing in hope, and thank you for making it happen. I appreciate all of you. Thank you.
I really love what y'all do on the Young Turks, man, and it's a very refreshing, voice. Y'all don't lean to one side. I tell people all the time, if you want to go really hear what's going on honestly in our society, you should tune in to the Young Turks.
Thank you, Charlemagne. We appreciate that.
That's awesome. Really appreciate it, brother.
Tell me about the shirt you're wearing.
Pretty much speaks for itself. What's the penalty for treason? Death. Everything was phenomenal under Donald Trump, and now it's Obama calling the shots right now. It ain't Biden.
So it's Obama calling the shots?
I believe so. None of this would be happening if they hadn't stolen the 2020 election from Trump and we the people.
If you could have an option of 4 years of Donald Trump as a dictator or 4 years of Joe Biden as a president, what would you choose?
Donald Trump.
All right, welcome back. A lot of show left. Let me read some of these amazing comments. I greatly appreciate everyone. 36 Chambers Dragon says, happy Wednesday, Dr. Richie and Yasmin. Been catching up on your podcast. Yas with 5 Z's. They're listening.
Nice. I like that all 5 of them were there. That's very
That's right.
thoughtful.
That's right. And it's so fascinating so far, talking about your podcast, and it is. Also, is there any way I can listen to you, to your Sirius XM shows, Doctor, without having Sirius Radio? Yeah, you know, it's a paywall dynamic, but here's what you can do. You can download the Sirius XM app and go through the free trial, okay? And then you can Google how to keep the free trial going. All right. All right, there you go. I wish a dragon would. Man, that's classy. Damn, that's amazing. I love that. Finally here for a live show. Greetings, Doc. Greetings to you. And Librio, spending the first part of my B-Day birthday with you guys, then on to a very happy hour. Happy birthday to you. And why are you not already starting the happy hour while watching Indisputable?
Happy birthday. That's so exciting.
Good stuff, man. And let me do Twitch. Yep. Lonnie Williams needs more than hate crime. That's right. That's right. All right. Got something for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off! I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
He's uncomfortable with you. Can you leave us alone? He's clearly uncomfortable with you. Can you leave us alone?
So are you sitting like this with your night shoes?
Put it at full mass. Somebody knows this Karen. Somebody probably is willing to claim her. Now, the dog isn't barking at you, OG Karen. He's barking at that devil inside of you. He's protecting his family. Okay? Could already sense your energy, something that domesticated animals have a gift for. The poster of the video provided backstory of the incident. So here's what they wrote. On October 18th, 2024, at 1 p.m., I was sitting on the corner of a field in the Upper West Side with my dog. A woman sat across from me and suddenly asked, "Why are you sitting like that? Do you need to use the restroom?" I have no idea why someone would ask a complete stranger that, so I fully ignored her. She posed the question 2 more times, and I still did not respond or even look at her. My dog was laying down all that time after a lot of zoomies. Then she came up to me and started talking to my dog, saying, "Yeah, she's lazy," referring to the fact that I was sitting on the grass. I asked her to leave us alone and she eventually turned back to her side. I had no idea she would come back, but she did. And this time she grabbed a coffee, which I had not noticed before, and spilled it on me. The important part, I did file a police report, and they classified it as harassment, but they won't investigate further since I don't have her details. She isn't my neighbor or anything. You know, there are a lot of people that say we're anti-police here at Indisputable, and we are not. We are anti-bad police, okay? We're gonna help the police. Put up that Karen again, just in case somebody's aware of who she is, so that the good people at their local police department can do the investigation properly. Okay, Yasmin, thoughts here.
Yeah, this is the epitome of a woman who has just never suffered a consequence in her life. Like, who just does this for no reason? We can't tell from the video what motivated this woman to speak this way to a total stranger who is literally just sitting down with her dog. It's fall right now in New York City. I bet it's a beautiful day. It's a nice time to go to the park with your dog. And good for the dog. The dog doesn't even like her. You have to be a really, really hateful and ill-intended human being for a dog to bark at you that way. They know when people are evil.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, Donald Trump promised to pay for the funeral of a slain soldier, backed out of it. Put her up full mast. Trump reportedly decided to back out of paying a slain soldier's funeral bill. He offered to cover the cost for a soldier who died at Fort Hood, then furiously backed out when the family sent the bill. It was a $60,000 bill to the White House, according to a recent report published on Tuesday in The Atlantic. Among claims made in the report was that Trump volunteered to pay for the funeral of Vanessa Giuliani, a 20-year-old Army private who was beaten to death and burned by a fellow soldier. Quote, he says, if I can help you out with the funeral, I'll help. I'll help you with that. Trump reportedly told the victim's family, I'll help you out. Financially, I'll help you, end quote. Quote, it doesn't cost $60,000 to bury an effing Mexican, the then president said, according to the report. He reportedly told this to Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. Quote, don't pay it. Trump remained agitated about the funeral the following day, according to the report. Effing people trying to rip me off, Trump ranted. The story came from staffers who were really taking notes of the meeting from The Atlantic. The Atlantic reported. The family denies the report, but Giuliani's family denied it was accurate. Her sister, Mayra, hit out at the report on social media after it was published. Quote, I don't appreciate how you are exploiting my sister's death for politics, hurtful and disrespectful to the important changes she made for service members, she wrote. It doesn't end there. It doesn't end there. Yesterday, New York Times released audio of retired General John Kelly. Remember him? Who served as the chief of staff, was supposed to be the guy that kept things in order, okay? Saying Trump claimed Hitler, quote, did some good things. Once again, here we go with the Hitler fascination. All right, here it is.
He commented more than once that, that Hitler did some good things too. First of all, you should never say that. But if you knew what Hitler was all about from the beginning to the end, everything he did was in support of his racist, fascist life. You know.
I think, first of all, I don't know John Kelly, but I agree. I think he's an honorable person. His family and his son certainly made the ultimate sacrifice for the country, so he certainly earned an opinion here. And he's earned a political opinion, but I think, like everything else with Donald Trump, opinions vary. Humbly submit to Mr. Kelly that if he's worried about Hitler and he's worried about fascism, he ought to pick up the newspaper. There's thousands of Hitlers running around this country right now, running around college campuses, running around New York City, chasing Jewish people around, blocking their access on college campuses. If you're worried about Hitler and you're talking about Donald Trump, maybe open your eyes.
Sir, your gaslighting is on X-Men level. They just like a superpower. What you're saying is so insane and frankly dumb. The outrage should have been at the forefront of every commentator on that stage, on that panel with you. But they allow you to say these things. They think that you're important and you have an opinion. You simply have an occult talking point. That's it. Now, white nationalist Nick Fuentes says if VP Kamala Harris wins in the upcoming election, well, they'll have an actual fascist as president, Hitler as president. Here's how he said it.
The pressure's going to get to her. She'll be a black woman. There'll be so much anger, and if she wins, don't get me wrong, if she wins, it'll be a disaster for the country. But think about all the anger that will be incubated. Think about how anger and rage and disillusionment and dissatisfaction will be incubated. 4 years. It'll be like another Obama. It'll be like another Obama. She'll be in there laughing it up, cackling, laughing it up, with her feet up on the desk. Black woman telling white people how she hates them. Economy's gonna crash. War with Iran. Imagine the interviews, the speeches. Imagine the anger. In 2028, we're going to get Hitler. Like in 2028, if we get 4 years of Kamala, in 2028, you're going to get an American fascist.
Now, remember, Nick Fuentes is so important to Donald Trump that he was invited to Trump's home for dinner, for a meeting, to talk about how racist he would be, obviously, if he received the support of Fuentes. Fuentes is no longer really supporting Trump because Trump isn't racist enough. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Congresswoman, decided to keynote an actual white supremacist conference coordinated by that same individual. This is the state of Republican politics today. Yasmin, thoughts?
There's a lot here. I don't know how or why anyone still believes that Trump is, one, for the veterans, and two, not a racist. I think it's unreal that one of the main talking points coming up out of the Trump camp lately, and this is at a time when people are already voting in the presidential election, by the way. I can't believe that the Trump camp is going around making their rounds in all of these talk shows talking about Trump is not a racist. Why are they having to defend this so much? And why are they failing to defend him on this front? Why are they doing such a bad job of it? Because he is a racist. Everyone knows it. Everyone knows it. He knows it. They know it. Everyone knows it. People who are racist think that they can get away with saying that they're not racist because they aren't members of the Klan or something like that. because they're not burning crosses on their front lawn. But we know that Trump is a racist because he wasn't just mad at the funeral cost. He wasn't mad that it cost more than he thought it would or more than he thought it should. He specifically said that it shouldn't cost that much to bury a Mexican. Why would her race have even been relevant if he wasn't a racist? Why would that thought have even entered his head if he wasn't a racist? Normal people just do not think that way. So he is being explicitly racist. He is explicitly praising Hitler and saying he wants to be more like Hitler and saying he wants to have his generals to be more like the ones that Hitler had when he was in office in Germany. So why is this even a conversation that we're having as a nation? And why is this guy on CNN trying to find common ground or find reason behind the things that Trump has said and continues to say? I think you said that the gaslighting was a superpower, but it's so nonsensical that he just sounds like an idiot. Like, how did he even end up on that panel? And then Fuentes, a deranged white nationalist with a Hispanic last name, getting excited about the possibility of Hitler is bizarre. But he did kind of bring up a good point. Trump was in many ways a response from white supremacists and from people who harbored, maybe more subtle or, below the belt racist ideologies. Trump was a response to the presidency of Obama. They could not handle a Black man with an Arabic name holding the highest office in the country, arguably in the world. And so they rebelled against it. They got scared that, they were being replaced by this Black man with an Arabic name. They couldn't handle any of it. And so we got Trump. So maybe he's onto something. I have no idea.
Yeah. And it sounds like when an individual is afraid of equal footing, it is because they have self-determined that they cannot rise to the occasion themselves.
Exactly.
With everything equal. All right. We got more on the other side. Indisputable, stick and stay.
You're about to watch some behind the scenes footage of the Young Turks. Ooh. Now, these are partial videos. If you want to get all of them, you become a member, go to tyt.com/join, and you'll get all the behind the scenes of me, Anna, John, JR, a little bit reality show like. tyt.com/join and enjoy this.
You know what you're seeing behind me? Jersey. Hold. Watch me flip this camera. However I flip it. Do I flip it like this? No, I just took a picture. I'm bitzing right now.
What?
Behind the scenes.
Oh, okay. For members? I don't have my face on.
She doesn't have her face on, folks. Oh, that's JR's ass right there.
You can't take 5 minutes off, can you?
No, I can't, Johnny Pie. I said it was live stream, but I was lying. It's not a live stream. It's just for members. Bitsy, this is my cat. You know what his name is? Kiki Cat.
Animals are innocent.
Control room and the insanity is obviously there.
Right now, as you can see, I'm directing or tech directing. I'm so happy to be here.
This is what like a Labor Day beard looks like for Cenk. Man, you're a Young Turks viewer if you recognize me like this.
Such a big fan. Oh, thank you. You are the one person in my life I would love to meet.
What's going on, guys? This is a Bitsy or a BTS or behind the scenes with Hassan Piker, aka Woke Bay.
Oh, hi, I didn't see you there.
I have finished my show, The Damage Report, and now I get into a really awkward time of the day.
When I'm sitting, the control room is right there, so I can see Bart.
And this is the Pittsburgh office, by the way. I'll refer to often as the boiler room.
You see how it's ripped? Is it super unprofessional to wear that at a business meeting? Or am I like cool, rebel?
I just finished doing the power panel and I'm fired up.
What do you do for TYT? Not a whole lot.
If you're frantically tweeting at us that something's broken, thank you, because I'm fixing it.
And thank you for being a TYT member.
Super last thing, because there's always got to be a super last thing. Oh, that was disastrous. This has been behind the scenes, behind the scenes.
Indisputable is still the fastest growing news show in America compared to CNN, Fox News, and 30 other networks. We tell the truth on Indisputable because the truth is indisputable. We go places that other news media outlets refuse to go. When there were human rights abuses happening at the Victorville prison, guards and members of the community contacted us.
You, through your investigative reporting, unearthed very troubling allegations about specific forms of abuse and discrimination in the federal prison system.
It really doesn't take much to be a trusted voice. All it takes is to be fearless, report on matters, be an advocate. I called it the bullpen intentionally because it's a place of preparation. We present individuals who may have an opposing view, so we debate. Sometimes we interview individuals because their stories deserve to be heard. A survivor of significant police misconduct and his attorney. We covered this story earlier. Let me remind you of the horror of one man being shot at damn near 100 times by the police. We take time on this show to showcase the temper tantrums of Karens in the wild. We do this not because we want to see people's emotional outbursts in public, but because these incidents are emblematic of a bigger societal issue taking place across the nation, and it has to be checked. My friend, my big homie, attorney at law, Benjamin Crump.
I just want to thank you, man. Educated, articulate brothers like yourself speak truth to power. It makes a great difference in changing the landscape in America. So
listen, no matter what you do, don't allow the politics of ideology to evaporate the soul that still exists inside of you. They don't stop, I don't stop. Racism won't stop, I won't stop. Systemic bias won't stop, I won't stop. People still need health care, so I won't stop. People still need criminal justice systems reformed, so I won't stop. You won't stop either. Welcome to the bullpen.
Not had any alcohol.
I have not.
Okay. Now, how about marijuana? Did you have had that?
Excuse me?
Marijuana?
I'm sorry? I didn't understand. What did you say?
I said, how about marijuana?
No.
No marijuana?
No.
Okay. You want to hang out right here for me? I don't think I have any. Yeah, you know, I had a stash in here somewhere. I don't really know where it's at. He's gonna refuse anyway.
I think it's a combination of the THC for sure. I didn't really evaluate him, but you can definitely see impairment for the THC, and then thinking his medication, prescribed medication, is something that too is amplifying the effects.
I'm gonna take him.
In a story we covered just a few days ago in Indisputable, we now have the exclusive interview, in-depth interview with Mr. Rudy Giuliani, who was the intended victim of what seemed to be a heinous crime at that moment, planting drugs and more. Michigan officers did this. We're going to talk about it. Mr. Laureate, good day, sir. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Ritchie.
Thank you for being here. I wish it was under better circumstances. This was a hell of a thing. On the day of reporting, not only did these officers seemingly try to find drugs to plant on you once they realized you were not on drugs, nor did you have any, they also forced you to defecate in front of them and made insinuations that they were going to find drugs in that as well. And it continued on and on. If you would, summarize in your own words what you experienced that day and the details of what happened.
Sure. So basically, I was just driving a friend home, driving while black and in an expensive car. And the police pulled me over for no probable cause and put me through what felt like endless sobriety tests again and again and again.
Can you describe those sobriety tests?
Oh, absolutely. Heel to toe, putting my finger to my nose, standing on one leg. At one point, I was asked, do I know the alphabet? It was just demeaning. And it was back and forth between the two officers. And it was clearly intended to break my spirit. So that went on, I believe, about an hour. And ultimately, they decided that I was both intoxicated and high on marijuana, and that I needed to be tested at the local hospital. And the drug piece, we can talk about that later because I learned that later after getting my Freedom of Information Act request returned. Went to the hospital, immediately tested negative for alcohol. They decided they wanted to jail me anyway because the marijuana test would take 2 weeks to come back. So they wanted me to sober up and be safe in the jail, which is ridiculous because in the state of Michigan, marijuana is fully legal for recreational use. So why couldn't I just walk out of that jail across the street to my house and sleep in my bed? The whole point was humiliation. So getting to the jail, and they are booking me, scanning me, making sure I have no contraband on my body. And they notice in my stomach an anomaly. And they start scanning me and scanning me and scanning me again. And in that process, Officer Kenya goes, "That looks like a bag of drugs. Confess now or you will face a trafficking charge." So all night he was trying to place me in some type of drug crime. I did need to use the restroom at some point in that night and asked to do so. I was taken to a public area. It was like a theater for pooping. And basically, he told me, "Do not flush," as I went to use the restroom. After that, I did ultimately get the test done by someone who knew what they were doing. And they said I just had gas bubbles in my stomach. And I think most people would after being harassed, terrorized, and stalked all night. I was booked, spent the night in the jail, and walked out the next day.
What charges did they affix to you?
The original charge was operating under the influence of drugs. And I believe there was some comment about alcohol, but ultimately they were trying to get me for that one.
So they charged you with still basically a DUI, a DWI. And
A drug. Yes.
right. And you passed the field sobriety test, and you also passed the blood test issued by the hospital. But they said that the secondary test, or at this point, third test, would take 2 weeks to come back. So they're going to have you just sit in jail for those 2 weeks. And then they embarrass you by making you defecate in front of them and et cetera. Give us some scenarios, the scene of this responding officer, because you didn't realize that they tried to find drugs. And I want to go back to this point because it's very important. You didn't know this during the moment because they obviously are hiding it from you, but clearly.
And they continue to hide from me.
And they try to keep it away from you, correct?
Well, they continue to. They are not releasing clean, unredacted video. There are complete gaps in the video. There are gaps in audio or complete omissions of audio. And I actually talked to the passenger that you don't see in the main video. And I said, "Well, what was happening in this 1 minute gap in audio?" And he said, "Oh, that was when they were asking me if the car really belonged to you."
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
It was really chilling for me to see the officer go to the trunk and talk about finding a stash. Okay. At this point, they're utilizing vernacular as if they are, well, common drug dealers, which in a way they may actually be. So, right. So why would you have a stash of drugs randomly in your car? And if you don't have it now, that means you planted it likely on somebody else. But they went to the car, and to me, it's so chilling because of how all of the officers were down with the play. Nobody had to synchronize, nobody had to huddle, but they were down with this. What happened to where you got access to this video? And when you did, how did you feel?
Oh, I'm angry, Dr. Ritchie. You know, I was an executive at the biggest company in Benton Harbor. I'm an NYU MBA. I've never even been arrested. So where did they get trafficking from? Clearly, that's a trope. Then Kenya comes around to the car talking about fruity, fruity, fruity. All of the tests showed that I was negative. So he clearly was a homophobe. So I'm just very upset. I'm upset with Michigan State Police. They are withholding information from my attorney and me. And I'm upset, frankly, with the governor. And I'm upset with the Colonel Grady. We need this resolved immediately. We filed our complaint in June. And if I can count, that's more than 90 days. The investigation should be over. And we all saw the video. So for me, it's over. I need these officers fired.
I would say they should be under criminal investigation, in addition to not being anywhere near the sanctity of an office of public trust. So let's talk about the filing, the filing that you and your attorney have levied against them. In this filing, what are the specific claims made?
Well, it's so interesting. Initially, we thought it really was a matter of discrimination. So, while Black, right? Then, obviously, we get the videos and we had to expand it to planting drugs and trying to implicate me in a drug crime, which would have ruined my life. Then it expands again, Dr. Ritchie, to a criminal conspiracy to manipulate the evidence and to conceal. So we have not quite yet made that third update to the lawsuit yet. We want to give them a moment to come clean and give us the evidence immediately.
Did you all file in state court or federal court?
This is federal. It's a civil rights violation.
Good, good.
We can't trust Michigan. We cannot.
Yeah, that's right. Good, because it takes it out of the home court advantage, basically. At this point, how many officers do you know were involved?
Well, that's the chilling part. We thought that it was 2 dumb cops. And now, if the records department is manipulating videos, how high does this go in Michigan State Police? And what is the governor doing? I got a form letter back from the governor about 2 weeks ago that she cannot participate or intervene in these types of matters. I think she needs to get on the phone with Colonel Grady, who is the head of Michigan State Police, and figure out what's happening like today.
You know, I have a different point of view than some. I think the colonel is well aware of what's happening. I believe the governor is well aware as to what's happening. You have a culture inside of policing, and even though the rules may say one thing, the culture says another. And as I say all the time, culture eats policy alive every day of the week. This is problematic. You could have had your entire life destroyed over a lie.
Yes.
And they would have made it seem as if they just found the drugs. Yep, their investigation was proper. And the fact that he did it or attempted to do it to you, seemingly in that video, is an indicator that they have done it to others.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And the other thing that makes me so angry is just yesterday, I saw Officer Kenya's wedding website. So he's engaged, he's out and about in Benton Harbor, he's taking pictures at the fountain, and I'm dealing with trauma. Like, I can't go a day without crying spontaneously. I can't sleep past 2 a.m. anymore.
Brother, we support you. I want you to hear the love and the support that we have for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You've gone through something that 99.9% of the population would never experience. But I want you to know you have taken control of the narrative by doing what you're doing, standing up, providing leadership, articulating the facts, being willing to talk to the public. We got the best video from your own YouTube page.
Thank you.
Because, yes, because you advocated for justice,
Yes.
and you
And
happen to be the person
and it's
that
not
needed
just
that justice.
it's not just for me. When I was in that jail, I knew I was not the only innocent person there.
That's right.
This is a criminal conspiracy, and it has to end immediately.
Brother, your fight will change things not only for the future, but it may also have the effect of changing some things that have been done unjustly in the past, because you are creating exposure. The best way to get rid of darkness, as Dr. King would say, is to expose it to light. Darkness and light, they are not co-equals. Anywhere there is light, darkness flees. And this is how corruption permeates. It permeates in the dark, and you've been able to bring it to the light. I am interested to know, sir, how, when you did the Freedom of Information request, and you did get at least some of this video, even though there's redaction and editing, they left, whoever gave this to you, left a very key part in there. I don't know if that was done intentionally or not, but if they were supposed to erase all of the potential criminal activity of the officers, they did a bad job, because clearly you see them going to the trunk trying to find their stash for you. How do you think that happened?
Well, I had this conversation with my sister's mom, and I said, you know, there must have been an idiot in the records department that released this. And she said, don't think about it like that. Maybe there was an angel in the records department that let that go out, and they just couldn't do it anymore.
Man, is your attorney confident you can get some of these officers under oath anytime soon?
Well, we'll see. If I were in their shoes, I would definitely try not to go to trial.
Yeah. Since this has happened, has the department targeted you in any other way?
Well, personally, no. I live in Alabama now. I have no intention of going back to that state unless it's to see
Good for you.
the two troopers in trial. But I will tell you this, Dr. Ritchie, and thank you for asking. A number of my friends have helped me to expose this on social media. And what they're saying is that the Michigan State Police are stalking their social media in a very aggressive and intimidating manner.
This is just, it's so sad, man. It's just completely insane. But people like you standing up, opportunities to share. And when I tell you, dear brother, you got millions of people who are supportive of you, who appreciate what you're doing. They want you to feel the love they have for you. When I saw you going through that, during that, the back and forth, it seemed so ridiculous. As if somehow
it was so hard to just.
I mean, you kept your cool, but you were confused as to why. You know, what's this back and forth?
But I was starting to break down. I was starting to break down towards the end, right before they took me.
Yeah, who wouldn't? Yeah. The person you were with, because you were driving somebody.
Yes.
What interaction, if any, did they have with the officers?
Well, that is the dash cam and body cam that I'm referring to, that's super redacted. They were questioning him, obviously on the right side, the passenger side, if the car belonged to me, which is just so disgusting because one, the tag is my name. Two, you did the whole registration review. Like, it's my car. I'm an executive in the town. If they had any brains, they would have looked at my ID and saw where I lived. So that was the thrust of the conversation with him is, come on, you can tell us, it's okay. Where did he get this car from?
How has this impacted your career, your life since?
I'm just so fortunate that I'm an entrepreneur. I would not be able to advocate for myself like this if I were kind of towing the line for corporate America. And, you know, I had to leave corporate slavery and work for myself.
For those who are watching now, for those who will see this later, what would you say to them about police misconduct and the corruption that you faced, and how would you empower them?
So we're not going to make our cities safer by stalking and terrorizing a portion of the population. Like, let's think about how we police in a way that's ethical and fair and effective.
Would you say that this has made you a stronger advocate to get rid of corruption and police misconduct?
For sure, for sure. This cannot continue. And I just am heartbroken to think about people who are still in that jail. And maybe they don't have $250 for a Freedom of Information Act request. Maybe they don't have money to hire an attorney and pay a retainer up front. I shouldn't be free in Alabama because I have money. That's not right.
Right. You said one of the most powerful points I've probably ever heard, because it goes back to the dynamic of this justice system is set up for those who can afford the best defense.
Yes.
Not because they are appointed the best defense. Dear brother, we applaud your leadership, your courage. Anything that we can do for you at Indisputable, you just let us know, and it's done. For those who are watching this and they would like to follow you on your YouTube page, they can do so. You can give that out freely. That's where I found much of the information, and I'm so glad you put it out there so clearly. And I said, we have to do this story. So let people know how they can follow you in this case.
So anywhere on social is going to be under Dakari Lariat as depicted on the screen. Please go to the videos and share, share, share. Please call Governor Whitmer. Please call Colonel Grady. We've got to get these troopers off the street. People are reaching out to me saying they've had the same experience as recently as September. This is insane. It has to stop now.
That's right. And it won't stop until there's great exposure and a great transfer of these officers out of positions of public trust. Dear brother, we are appreciative for you joining us today and spending so much time with us. Thank you for your time today. All right.